So take a look at this project. You try to pitch this to someone, and they just look at this chart and they say, okay, well, it's an amazing rug pull. You went from $100 to $0. And yeah, it looks like a fantastic project. I would love to invest all of my money into it. So this is actually our project, and I wanted to explain and show you that you shouldn't just look at the price, because the price does not really tell you the whole picture. And I also wrote an article, which is 10 reasons why 99% of cryptocurrencies will fail. And I think what we're going to do is break up this video into multiple pieces, as it's going to be a pretty long series, to understand the whole landscape. So I've been in the space for about 10 years, and I feel like there's a few patterns that you can apply to most coins and most projects, and really understand what projects will survive long term. And you take a look at this project, might look scary, but if we click the log scale, hey, that looks like very different, right? So all of a sudden, okay, it looks like it's still going down, but it doesn't look as big of a drop, right? And then if you click on the market cap, whoa, that looks very different. What happened? Why does this chart look so different from the other one? So let's toggle the log scale back, and now we can get a little better idea of what's happening. So in our project, it started at 0 tokens, right? So the community mints their tokens. Over time, they burn them to increase the yield. And that's kind of our unique tokenomics approach that we built for about 5 years now. And when you look at this, it basically shows you over time what the value is for all the tokens that exist in our ecosystem. So at one point we did reach 1.25 million. But here's the question: why did it drop so hard? Did Bitcoin, did Ethereum drop during this time? No, that's not what happened. So it kind of takes us into our first point here, the liquidity, right? And I feel like for most projects, it is impossible to tell us how much liquidity is actually available for trading. I'll give you an example. If we go back to the homepage of CoinGecko and we take a look at Bitcoin, we can see the market cap is at $2 trillion. By the way, I expect this to continue growing in the future, especially Ethereum, and that's kind of the big bet that we have, that Ethereum will also go up in long term due to the tokenomics that they have in their system. But if we look at the market cap here, how much liquidity does Bitcoin have? Well, it's not possible to say, right? Same with Ethereum. And with a lot of projects, you really cannot tell. There's many reasons for this, but I think for Bitcoin, it is mostly because the liquidity is so decentralized, and there's so many sources of liquidity. You have liquidity pools, you have banks, you have investment funds, and all sorts of cold wallets, and yeah. There's just so many sources of liquidity. But for projects like ours, we really have it concentrated in one place, which is liquidity pool. So you don't really have to understand how liquidity pools work, but if we go back to metrics, we can actually see that in this orange here, Flux is at $57,000 in liquidity. And if we jump back to the market cap here, we can compare and say that, okay, about half of all the tokens are available for liquidity. And because we use a single pool, or we have a couple of pools for Flux, but it's pretty concentrated, you can actually get very low spread, right? So I feel like this metric is missing. So the way I see it in the future, projects will be ordered by liquidity. And I think this is going to happen because coins will be continue to be created with the same name, right? So for example, a long time ago, we picked the name Flux. And guess what? Another project came along and they said, no, we're Flux. And what we did is we said, okay, we'll call ourselves Data Mine Flex, and uh, but guess what? There's other projects that are Flex. Look, there's another coin called Flex, and now Flex Terminal, and all these other projects, they're all called Flex. And this is not even all the projects that are called Flex, right? If you go to a decentralized explorer and you search for Flex, you will find thousands of projects called Flex. So name is no longer important. Um, you know, Name, the ticker, the icon, it doesn't matter, right? If there is a meme for Pepe, there's going to be 1,000 coins called Pepe, right? Like we can see here, right? If we type Pepe, we can actually see there's so many, and it's just going to continue, right? This is going to get worse and worse. So if the name doesn't matter and the icon doesn't matter, how are currencies going to be priced in the future? This is where liquidity is so important, right? The only thing that makes sense is in the future if coins are ordered by liquidity, not by market cap. And the reason why market cap can be gamed is because someone can just mint 100 tokens and then price them at like $10 billion and have like $5 in liquidity. Well, okay, so your market cap is going to be gigantic, but you only have $5 of liquidity for trading, so you cannot really trade it. So yeah, I just wanted to really kind of bring it home and just say that liquidity is so important, yet we don't really track it anywhere, and I think it's almost invisible for most projects. So I kind of hope that explains why we spend so much time in analytics. We have so many charts and um, so many numbers. Why is that the case? Well, it's to cover kind of these holes, right? So, by showing liquidity over time, we can understand and see how our project is performing. So, yeah, that's the first point, and I think the most important point is that in the future, liquidity is the king, right? It's after COVID, we have millions of projects, and liquidity is only going to be more and more spread. So there's going to be less and less liquidity available for the projects, and yeah, I just think that that's going to be one of the main reasons that projects will fail is they just cannot raise liquidity, right? It's no longer about hype. You can't be, you cannot just make a name that's funny and get a bunch of attention because with the rise in AI, you all of a sudden have all of this competition where a person can just go and create a new project. They can just fork one of the existing projects, or they can go to Pump Fund and create a new token in 5 minutes, call it Pepe, and from there they can just start marketing it, and they can use AI and just use AI slop everywhere, and it's going to take them 15 minutes from their day to just spread it across the internet. It's not that difficult, right? And if the barrier to entry is so easy, everyone is going to do it, and it is just the death of marketing for tokens, right? I just feel like people have not realized it yet, but it's coming, and the liquidity is only going to get harder and harder and harder to extract. This is why you need solid tokenomics. You need to be prepared for the future. You need to have a lot of liquidity compared to your market cap, and if you don't, you cannot just ride on the hype train alone, because eventually uh, these projects will die off because people are not trading them, and the attracting new customers is very difficult because you're just kind of yelling, yeah, using your AI tools. You're just trying to promote something that no one is coming to, right? And at some point, people just give up and like, I'll just go and create a new token, right? It doesn't cost me anything, right? And you can just keep launching the new tokens, and everyone is going to do it. And yes, ultimately, the most important thing is liquidity. Like, if you do launch a token, how much money is really backing that? And we're going to go over many topics related to liquidity, because, for example, even if you have a lot of liquidity, for example, we have in liquidity token, we have $125,000. That's permanent liquidity, and that's very different from liquidity, because no one can take that liquidity, right? It's sitting in a liquidity pool, and there's no owner. But for something like Flux or Dam, this is all backed by humans, right? And this is why it's so difficult to get liquidity, is because people come, they will add liquidity to their pool, everyone gets excited, and then someone takes out liquidity. Okay, well, you cannot trust that. But with liquidity token, for example, that we have, like 95% of that is in the pool right now, right? So not only do you get stability, um, you get stability from having so much liquidity in the pool relative to the market cap. 95% is insane, because it means only 5% of the tokens are available for trading. So you can only change the price, here by 5%. So yeah, it's a pretty complicated subject, liquidity, but I hope you at least can see my pain point, that people are just looking at prices and they're looking at market caps, and I don't think this is enough. There, you have to look at liquidity, but you cannot see liquidity. And projects, with many pools, or if they're big projects like Bitcoin, it's impossible to tell you how much liquidity there is. And with things like futures and loans, and it just gets more complicated, right? So I just hope that makes sense. If you're launching a project and you have $5 in liquidity, I'm sorry, but that's just not enough to get people to trade it. So if there's $5 in liquidity, and that is 1% of your market cap, that's also not enough. So it's like, if you look at them, for example, I believe only 8% is in liquidity pool. So the other 80% is it is locked up, right? And there's only 8% of liquidity, and the volatility for them is so insane because of that, right? So people will come and buy it, and it can spike up and down in price. Within one day, it can go up and down 100%, because there is so little liquidity compared to the market cap. So for this video, I think that's pretty much it. I will make some more videos explaining the other reasons why projects fail. But yeah, I hope you at least got some value from this.